Welcome to the Musar Torah podcast for Parshas Pinchas. Join us as we explore the weekly Parsha, uncovering valuable insights and striving to become the best versions of ourselves through Musar teachings. Parshas Pinchas opens in a dramatic moment. At the end of last week's Parsha, Pinchas acted with extraordinary zeal to stop a public desecration of Hashem's name. Now, Hashem responds, and the Torah records what Pinchas receives in return. V'hayasalo ulazaro acharav bris kahunas olam tachas asher kinei lelokav ve'yechaper al bnei Yisrael. It shall be for him and his descendants after him a covenant of eternal priesthood, because he took impassioned action for his God and made atonement for the children of Israel. Rav Yisrael Meir Druk Shlita points to something unusual in this pasuk. The Torah says Pinchas took vengeance for his God, lelokav, not simply for Hashem. The possessive is striking. Why does the Torah describe Hashem as Pinchas's God, as though Pinchas had a unique personal ownership over the divine name? To answer this question, Rav Druk brings a remarkable story from the Midrash in Devarim Rabbah. Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach once purchased a donkey from a certain Yishmaelite. His disciples were thrilled to discover that hanging around the donkey's neck was a precious gemstone. They rushed to their teacher with the good news, quoting the verse from Mishlei, Birkas Hashem hi sa'ashir es v'lo Yosef etzev ima. The blessings of Hashem it will enrich. Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach listened and then said something that must have been surprising to them. I purchased a donkey. I did not purchase a precious stone. He then went ahead and returned the gem to its rightful owner. The Ishmaelite, when he received it back, called out in his amazement, "Blessed is Hashem, the God of Shimon ben Shattach." The Midrash draws out the lesson. From the faithfulness of a human being, we can come to know the faithfulness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rav Druk Shlita explains that this Midrash reveals something profound. When a person performs a Kiddush Hashem, when a person's actions reveal godliness in the world, that sanctification becomes permanently associated with their name. Notice what the Ishmaelite declared. He did not simply say, "Blessed is Hashem." He said, "Blessed is Hashem, the God of Shimon ben Shattach." The divine name was attached to a human name because a human name had made that name shine in the world. This is why Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach's act of returning the gem was not merely a nice story about honesty, it was an act of cosmic significance. Through his integrity, he caused a non-Jew, someone with no prior relationship to the Torah, to recognize and proclaim Hashem's greatness. That moment of Kiddush Hashem forever linked Hashem's name to his own. Now we can return to our pasuk and understand with new eyes. Pinchas, through his dramatic act of zealousness, sanctified Hashem's name before all of Israel. His actions stopped the desecration, ended the plague, and made the divine presence visible in the world in a moment of crisis. The Torah therefore records the result. Pinchas took vengeance for his God, le'elokav. Hashem's name had to become attached to Pinchas. The possessive is not a grammatical curiosity. It is the Torah's way of saying, when you sanctify Hashem's name through your deeds, Hashem's name becomes yours. There is, however, an essential counterpoint that the story of Pinchas itself teaches us, and it cuts to the very heart of what Kiddush Hashem means. Pinchas acted with total conviction. He was certain that he was doing the right thing. Ultimately, Hashem validated him. The Torah awards him a covenant of eternal priesthood. The story has a clear, confirmed ending. The problem is, we rarely get that kind of confirmation in advance. The Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that when Pinchas acted, the scholars of his generation were on the verge of excommunicating him. From where they stood, what they witnessed looked far more like an act of violence than an act of sanctity. It required direct divine intervention to establish that Pinchas had in fact performed a Kiddush Hashem. Without that intervention, history might have recorded the very same act as a Chilul Hashem. This should give us pause, because in our own lives we often feel the pull of what we might call Pinchas energy, the certainty that something is wrong and is happening now, and we are the ones who need to act. Our intervention is not just permitted, but required. We feel righteousness. We feel clear. We feel that we are standing up for Hashem. The story of Pinchas teaches us that those feelings are not sufficient. What actually determines whether an act sanctifies Hashem's name or not is not the actor's intention, it is how the act lands in the world. An act performed with the best intentions but without the right circumstances, the right moment, or the right proper guidance may not produce a Kiddush Hashem at all. It may chas v'shalom produce the opposite. Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach, by contrast, did not need divine validation after the fact. His act of returning the gem spoke for itself. The Ishmaelite's declaration was immediate and unambiguous. There was no room for doubt about what had been sanctified. The difference between the two stories is instructive. One required a miracle to be recognized as a Kiddush Hashem. The other was self-evident to anyone who witnessed it. When we are genuinely sanctifying Hashem's name, the world tends to see it clearly because it is rooted in integrity, not urgency. We are unlikely to face the precise circumstances Pinchas faced. Every day, however, we face quieter moments that carry the same essential question. Will my actions make Hashem's name shine, or will they obscure it? Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach's moment came in an unexpected place, not in the base Midrash, not in a moment of religious drama, but in a simple transaction with a stranger. He had a choice that nobody would have blamed him for making the other way. A gem in a donkey's saddlebag could easily have been considered included in the purchase. His students were practically cheering for him to keep it. However, he returned it because his integrity was not contingent on whether anyone was watching or whether anyone would object. The result was a moment of Kiddush Hashem heard across generations. The question Rav Druk's teaching puts before us is this: does the way we live our lives, in business dealings, in how we treat people, in how we speak and act when we think no one important is watching, does it cause others to say, "Blessed is Hashem, the God of the Jewish people"? Or does it, chas v'shalom, do the opposite? Hashem's name becomes attached to our name through our actions. That is extraordinary responsibility and an extraordinary opportunity. This week, let's look for one moment where we can act with integrity even when it would cost us something and no one would know the difference. A returned overpayment, an honest answer, a promise kept when it would have been easy to forget. Ask yourself as you act, would this cause someone, anyone, to say, "Blessed is Hashem"? That is what it means to carry Hashem's name. The Torah does not call Hashem simply the God who rewarded Pinchas. It calls Hashem Pinchas's God, because Pinchas earned that possessive through action. Through sanctifying Hashem's name, Pinchas wove Hashem's name into his own story. Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach did the same, not with a spear, but with a gem returned to its rightful owner. Both teach us that the deepest form of religious life is not one that merely avoids wrongdoing. It is one that actively makes Hashem's presence felt in the world through integrity, through sacrifice, through the quiet courage to do what is right, even when nobody is asking us to do so. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Musar Torah podcast. May we all merit to carry Hashem's name with integrity in the quiet moments and in the visible ones alike. Have a good Shabbos.